So I was born in 2009, which according to many people is one of the last years to be born Gen Z. I can say for sure that I had a Gen Z childhood. I grew up on YouTube Let's Plays, Minecraft, Five Nights at Freddy's, that stupid fucking maze game. I vividly remember throwing my tablet upon the Exorcist jump scare. Fuck the maze game. But there was one aspect that would sort of define a big portion of my generation. When people discuss Gen Z, they have to bring this up, because this was sort of a cultural revolution amongst Gen Zers. I'm of course referring to creepypastas. During like 2012 to 2016, you could not escape creepypastas. For those of you who are uninformed somehow, a creepypasta is basically just an urban legend that's spread around on the internet, similar to campfire stories. You tell these to your friend at recess, and the next day they come up to you begging to never mention it again because they stayed up all night thinking fucking Slender Man was gonna anally rape them or something. Some of these characters are pretty popular, like the aforementioned Slender Man, and also Jeff the Killer, Ben Drowned, goddamn Sonic.exe. Fuck, that one was the stupidest. Now, I wasn't invested as I wasn't as invested in creepypastas as other kids were. When I was younger, I was more invested in those old YouTube horror videos like I Feel Fantastic and Obey with a Walrus. Fuck that video, by the way. I'll save that for another video because it's a much bigger topic for me personally, and I was the connoisseur of that shit. Now, as I was saying, I wasn't as invested, but I did have a phase where I consumed a lot of creepypasta media, and today I will be sharing with you 3 creepypastas I actually liked. Because as I've grown up, I've come to think that a lot of these old creepypastas are super dumb and just plain horse shit. For instance, Jeff the Killer. What kind of a fucking name is Jeff the Killer? And also, the story itself is massively edgy. Anyways, let's get into the first creepypasta, which is arguably my favorite creepypasta of all time. None other than The Rake. Let me tell you something. I was obsessed with The Rake as a kid. He's one of the icons of creepypastas. But if you don't know, The Rake is this pale white humanoid creature that crawls on all fours and dwells in the forest, and he will kill you if he sees you. But I can't remember if he ate people or something, but he was simply just really hostile. The main story attached goes like this. A couple wakes up to the Rakes just sitting at the foot of their bed. He scurries off into the daughter's bedroom where he completely rips her apart and flees the scene. The parents walk in, and the daughter utters the words, "He is the Rake," and then she just fucking dies. As I said, I was super obsessed with this guy. Not because I found him scary, although it's kind of unsettling, but because I just thought it was really cool. All those Rake sighting videos I would watch the fuck out of. I created my own stories about him. I would tell it to people at like sleepovers and they'd stay up the whole night thinking about it. And most notably, I dressed up as him for one Halloween. And let me tell you, that was the best Halloween costume ever. Alongside possibly my favorite Halloween ever. So yeah, the Rake is really cool and he's inspired a creature in my novel. So, second one. And this one I noticed tends to top everyone's favorite creepypasta charts, primarily because it's the most believable creepypasta, I guess. I'm talking about the Russian sleep experiment. This one was also cool, but kinda scared me back then. Basically, the story goes that during World War II, Russian scientists took some prisoners of war and put them in a sleep deprivation chamber for weeks on end. The results were pretty insane. Some had killed themselves, some went insane, and yeah, it was just a disaster all around. This scared me because, well, it was simply a little too real. People still debate whether this one is real or not, but one thing I should mention is the image attached to it. This image was just so unsettling to look at as a kid. It's actually a Halloween prop with like a ton of effects, but still, look at this! Any child would be shitting bricks upon seeing this for the first time. So before we get to the third one, I'm going to speedrun a few that I thought were cool and sorta scary. First up, Momo. I'm not referring to the Elsa Gate Momo, rather the OG Momo where it was simply just a fucked up image. SuicideMouse.avi, while pretty stupid, I thought was the second best of the corrupted media subgenre, solely because of the video. Wait, what's the second best then? Well, that would easily have to go to Candle fucking Cove. This one actually did scare me a lot, and I hated the fan-made video. This one frame of this long-armed fucker is ingrained in my memory. In middle school, I was into lost media, and I thought the idea of camera heads was cool. But if you know, there's no, like, definitive story to it, because it's lost. Also, Robert the Doll. Like, look at this guy. Now, time for the third creepypasta I want to discuss. And the reason I've saved this one for last is because out of any creepypasta, this one scared me the most out of any other ones. This one puts all the previous ones to shame. But also the reason I'd like to bring it to light is because I don't see anyone talk about it. It's a more underrated creepypasta in my opinion. And the one I'm talking about is called Where the Bad Kids Go. Jesus, this one stuck with me. So, I'll get straight into the story. This one centers around a TV show called Where the Bad Kids Go. It was a Beyond Scared Straight type show where they'd interview bad kids, show their day-to-day life, and really just document a ton of little shits. Every episode would end with a door to a rusty shed slamming shut as screams are heard with the message, "This is where the bad kids go." Or something like that. I fucking forget. Pretty off-putting to begin with. Now, the story is told through the perspective of this guy who grew up with the show as a kid and eventually the show was canceled. And the guy wanted to see what's up. So he travels to the exact shed where they used to film the closing scene. It's abandoned by this point. And the guy goes inside, and this is the real kicker. He sees basically a fucking crime scene. There is blood smeared all over the floor and the walls of this place. Feces everywhere. Chains hanging from the ceiling. And worst of all, there's a caged microphone hanging from the ceiling, which implies that there were children being slaughtered here during the recording of the show. From what I remember, the story ends right there, and it left me freaked the fuck out. Creepypastas were honestly really gory most of the time looking back on them, but this one was like the worst in my opinion. Besides Jeff the Killer, but you know what I think of that one. So yeah, my award for scariest creepypasta goes to Where the Bad Kids Go. Good talk.